SaaS Therapy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SaaS Therapy, the show that aims to help you save your most important business relationships by helping you save your customers. My name is Todd Kirk, and today I'm going to be reviewing a recent episode that I did with my co-host, Kensie Trujillo, where we talked about the importance of data. Now, Kensie he's a business development and relationship expert, and his experience on data is very, very different than mine. You know, when we started the conversation, I thought Kensie was going to go in a slightly different direction than he did, because to me, when I hear the word data, I'm thinking about, when I hear bad data especially, I think of it in terms of the quality and the cleanness of the data. So if I've got a table and the columns are mixed up, or there is too many data points that are brought into a single data set that is hard to manipulate or make sense of. Kensie, because he's a relationship person and not a data scientist, he looks at this very differently. And the way we started the conversation, it started to make a lot more sense to me exactly what he was thinking when he started to tell the story of how Instagram was started. Now, he told the story of the founder of Instagram. His name is Kevin Systrom. And when he first started what we now know as this, mega huge corporation, he started it as a gaming platform called Bourbon that was really meant to help people connect in real physical ways, like going to bars and things like that. But he got feedback from his then girlfriend and investors that he needed to focus and pick a specific item that they would focus on, and ultimately landed on video sharing with filters, and that was the place where this was all begun. So he tells this story, and all of a sudden I realized that to a non-data scientist, bad data just means there's all kinds of inputs that you're receiving in your relationship with other people, and every input is a piece of data, and how you respond and react to receiving that type of feedback really, really matters. So it's important to think about bad data maybe in a different light, not just bad data as in, is it good from a quality perspective? Is it data that you can utilize to inform future decision making? And oftentimes we only want to focus on, especially if you're a CSM, we only tend to want to focus on the things that we feel are going to be the most positive, that are going to be able to make us feel warm and fuzzy inside. And unfortunately, a lot of the time when we get feedback, we are really going to be getting negative feedback instead. So what was interesting to me is we had this conversation, and it reminded me a lot of a book that I read last year called Never Split the Difference. And it's by Chris Voss. He's a former FBI negotiator. And one of the concepts that he talks about in his book is this idea of the power of no. So just another way to look at this is, if you want to get honest feedback from someone, when they tell you no, what's awesome is saying no hurts, but saying no is also honest. And unfortunately, we can manipulate data or feedback to always try to make it sound positive. And as a result, yes has the risk of being something that's counterfeit. So the advantage of bad results or bad data, as Kensie said, was the fact that when you get negative feedback, that is what oftentimes is going to push you the most to grow. So he had some great advice that I thought was really helpful to take a look at. And if you go back and listen to the full episode, I think it will be helpful for you as you go down this road. But the first thing that he mentioned is the fact that we need to be intentional about both delivering bad news and receiving bad news. So one of the things that was interesting is when we think about why, and that's obviously the first place you should start. A lot of times when it comes to data, we're not super intentional about getting data or getting feedback from customers. And so one of the ways that you can really build trust and build confidence in your customers that they're going to be able to achieve their goals is to be really intentional about trying to collect feedback and get insights back from your customers. But I think there's another side of this too, and that is that a lot of times when things are going bad, it's not always on you. If you're the person who is, let's say you're a customer success manager, you work for a SaaS company, a lot of times we tend to take bad results and we somehow turn it into a personal attack on us, as in that your failure, customer, is my fault. And one of the things that we need to get better at is learning how to help customers take ownership of the bad result. And the way that you do that has so much to do with the way that you communicate with them. So we need to be super early in how we share that information, and we need to be super transparent. Too often we want to obscure or we want to hide the fact that a bad result is happening. So, let's say that they had a really key objective or a key metric that they've identified and they wanted to hit. That metric goes really, really poorly. So you end up just saying, well, let's focus on this other metric that was going really well. Well, what that does is it creates a divide between you and the customer, because you're trying to prove to them that they got results rather than accepting the fact that they didn't get good results. So what's neat about this, though, is if the focus is on just getting a result and talking about that right away, you can create a collaborative experience with your customer. And that's one of the real magic pieces of this whole equation. You can't just go in there and say, I'm going to just share bad data. You want to create an environment where now you and your customer are on the same side of the table and you're helping them figure out how they can be successful. So that is a really, really cool concept. So ultimately, what we have to do is we have to be super intentional about collecting feedback and giving feedback. So those are both two things there that are important. You don't want the relationship between you and your customer to be one-sided. The second side of this is we need to be as honest as we possibly can, and we need to create a way for it to feel collaborative. So some of the ways that we might do this could be in the way that we ask questions. So you could give them data. Like, let's say you do a campaign and you read the results. You're going to go out and you're trying to increase a specific metric. You're trying to hit a specific target, and you know that you missed it. A lot of times we'll go in there and we'll be really apologetic and we'll say, here's all the things we're going to try to do to fix it. But what if instead you just present the results and then you say, what does that mean to you? Or what jumps out as you look at this data? And you let them tell you. So what's advantageous about that is sometimes they'll be really happy with the results, even though you think that they are bad. So that can be a really helpful place to start. The other thing is, how do you get them to engage and participate with you in the solution? So if the result was bad, if things didn't go the way that you hoped that they would, do you go in and you start trying to be the hero who saves everything and makes everything happen? Or are you the person who goes in and instead says, how do you suggest that we proceed to fix this? Or what would you like to see happen as our next step? How do you turn it around so that you're making it clear to them that they are the owners of their own destiny? That, I think, is the real magic of being an effective client success manager. So one of the last things that I thought was really interesting from Kensie was the fact that he had this idea, and I think as we were talking about it live, and you'll have to go back and listen to our longer form interview, one of the things that really caught my attention was that Kensie had this idea that as the CSM, you can be the villain. You can go out and you can attack the customer and you can tell them all the reasons they're failing. You can be the victim, where they give you negative feedback and you have all the reasons why it didn't work. Or you can play the role of the hero and then go in and try to play the rescuer and jump in and save the day. Well, Kensie said all three of those are bad. You shouldn't blame your customer and attack them. You shouldn't blame outside factors and obscure your own culpability. And you shouldn't come in and be the hero, because the goal is to create a partnership and a collaborative environment where you and your customers are working together to hit success. So if you're not the villain and you're not the victim and you're not the hero, what are you? Well, Kensie said the definition of customer success is someone who empowers the customer to achieve their success. I love that idea, but I haven't quite figured out exactly how to say it. So I challenged the audience then to go and give Kensie some feedback on how we could make this idea even more clear as we try to go down this road. Hopefully this has been a helpful recap of that episode. If you would like to listen to the full one, go to our podcast on Apple or Spotify so you can listen to the full version, and be sure to follow us and listen to future episodes that get pushed out every week. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. SaaS Therapy is brought to you by Brainstorm, the SaaS platform for SaaS adoption. Learn more at brainstorminc.com.